Hey guys, it's Alex with Hammond Watch. I'm here today with the Timex Expedition North Titanium. It's a really fun, fully titanium automatic field watch. It's something I've been excited to get into hand. It really feels like a shot across the bow of Hamilton. So I was excited to experience the watch and see if it kind of lived up to that hype. And honestly, it does in some areas and doesn't in others. But I'll give you my final kind of thoughts at the end. First, let's go through the measurements and then some of the specifications so you kind of know what you're getting in this package. So this fully titanium case measures at 41.25 millimeters. The thickness, although I've seen it listed thinner in a few different places, it's actually 13.5 millimeters thick. So it does feel a little bit chunky. You have a 6.5 millimeter crown with what feels like a little bit of a kind of a plastic end cap with the Expedition North logo. That crown though is screw down, providing that 200 meters of water resistance. The lug tip to lug tip, you're looking at 50 millimeters. If you fold the strap in and take the effective lug to lug kind of at the spring bars, you're looking at much closer to 48.5 millimeters. And then you have a nice 20 millimeter lug width. The strap tapers down to 18.25 just before the buckle. The buckle itself is 21.6. It is also titanium, and you can see signed Timex. Feels a little flimsy, but that's just because it's such a lightweight metal and a small piece. In general, I really don't have any issues with this. The watch features a nice screw-down exhibition caseback. The glass used is actually a piece of sapphire, which is a really nice touch. And I like the Expedition North printing. Sorry for leaving the stickers on here. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep this piece, so I'm reluctant to peel everything off knowing that I may return it. Behind the case back, you have a Miyota 8 series movement. That's an entry-level movement, but not something that I really have a problem with. You're looking at a 42-hour power reserve and single direction winding. You do get hacking and hand winding with this movement, so precise time setting is not going to be a problem, which I certainly appreciate. And then you have quick release spring bars on the strap. In general, I don't mind these on lower end watches, but I especially like it here. If you've ever had a titanium watch before, you'll know that it scratches incredibly easy. So not having to dig a spring bar tool into there and having the spring bar pop out as you're changing the strap is going to help keep the back of your lugs intact for just a little bit longer. The front of the watch features a nice piece of sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. You'll notice you'll get a little bit of light play, but nothing that obstructs the view of the dial or hands. The indices or Arabic numerals around the dial are all raised and then painted with luminescent material. The markers behind them are also lume, and one thing that I did really like is that they put a dot at 3 o'clock beside the date. That way you do have kind of the full set of lume plots on the dial. I think it balances out really nice. And they even loomed the Northport Expedition logo. So it gives it a really nice look in the dark. The handset, I realize probably won't be for everybody, but in general, I really don't hate it. The length on both hands is very nice. They don't quite touch the tips of the seconds track or the numerals, but they're just outside of it. Tons of legibility. Them white against this black dial I think really works. And then you have the simple printing of Timex automatic, titanium, and the water resistance, as well as mentioning shock resistant at the bottom. Not having a country of origin listed at the bottom of the watch. This is Chinese manufactured, but we're talking about Timex, so you kind of knew what you were getting into before you ordered it. Overall, I would give the lume an above average grade. It's certainly brighter than some of the Hamiltons that I've handled. You get a nice, bright, vivid green glow. And although it does dim relatively quickly, you're still going to get several hours of low light visibility. So here we are in my 7.5 to 7 3/4 inch wrist. And I must say, being titanium and lightweight, this watch is extremely comfortable. The proportions are pretty nice. It being a bit of a thicker watch, I don't know that I would go with a NATO strap. But in general, I really don't have any complaints when it comes to its wearability. All right, so let's talk final thoughts and pricing. Is this the spec monster Hamilton killer I thought it might be? Yes and no. I mean, it really comes down to your preferences. In general, the Hamilton feels like a nicer watch. Part of that is due to its multiple finishes, where you have kind of a polished bezel and it just has a little bit more of a shine to it. That said, that's one of my complaints about the Hamilton Field watch. It doesn't feel necessarily like a field watch, but more a field style watch. The crystals are kind of shiny reflective, as is the bezel. The dial's got a little bit of reflection to it. So, it feels more like a luxury product, whereas this feels more like a tougher actual field use product. So just kind of know your preferences. If you're into the full matte case style, this is probably going to be for you. Things I dislike about this watch, though, I do not like the strap at all. The Eco Dry Tan strap, I mean, I get the idea. So when they're tanning this, instead of using added water, they just use the moisture from the hide, and it's more eco-friendly because obviously you're not using as much. That said, when you run your finger across it, it feels like a synthetic, almost like a foam. Like it might break in nice, but just out of the box. I don't care for this at all. That said, most stock straps are kind of garbage, and I end up swapping them out pretty quick anyway. So that's a relatively small gripe. Being a titanium case, love that it's lightweight, but they scratch incredibly easy. Mine came out of the box already with a few little scratches here and there. No big deal. It's a watch that's meant to get beat on. But my biggest complaint is the crown. As you're unscrewing it, it doesn't feel the nicest. It doesn't feel super refined. There's not a satisfying, pop when you're done. It's just kind of unscrewed. And then when you're winding the movement or setting the time, it just feels a little bit crunchy. Now, that's 100% due to the Miyota 8 series movement, so it's not really Timex's fault. That said, just when you're handling a Hamilton Field watch, everything's a lot smoother. It just feels more refined. So just kind of know what you're getting into with this piece. The cost retail is $349. You can get a 15% discount for submitting your email address, which brings the price to $296.65 plus tax. For where I live in Florida, that made my total right around $318. Overall, for a sapphire AR-coated crystal, titanium case, 200 meters of water resistance, and an automatic hacking and hand-winding movement, I think that's extremely acceptable. But if you've ever seen any of my other Hamilton reviews, you'll know that if you go to ashford.com, picking up a Hamilton khaki field watch kind of runs you right around that $350, $360 mark. So, they're comparable prices. Again, tougher, more matte, kind of a harder core field watch. Or are you looking for something that's a little bit more entry level to luxury? If you're looking for the tougher item, I think you've got a winner here. If you've enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It really helps in YouTube's algorithm. Also consider subscribing. I try to put watch content out weekly at a minimum, and I hope to see you in the next one.